Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's having a good day. I have another interesting story for my audience, so let's get into it. So, this was like a typical day. Um, I woke up and I wanted to, clean the house for my parents and kind of surprise them. When you want to clean the house a little bit because the house is a little bit messy, and even if they don't realize or not, you just want to keep the house clean, you know what I mean? Because normally by the end of the week, the house is either cluttered or a little bit messy and needs cleaning. I don't know if everyone's household's like that. Maybe everyone's different. Maybe everyone cleans every day. Um, yeah, so everyone's different. So on this particular day, I thought I'd be nice and I'd clean, so I end up steam cleaning the carpets for like a half an hour, something like that. They look a lot better. I thought that was good. And then pretty much after that, um, doing the odd dishes, doing the garbage, cleaning the floors, like washing the floors, sweeping the floors, all that stuff, cleaning up the living room, cleaning up pretty much where people hang out the most, the pers- the yeah, the place where people hang out and they would notice the mess the most, like the kitchen, living room, and basically the bathroom, basically. So I washed the floor, cleaned the toilet, cleaned the bathtub. Basically, did the best clean as I could to my ability. At least when you look at it, it'll be clean, suitable, and just doing that stuff. And then I was like, okay, I cleaned for, a bit of time. I'm kind of getting exhausted. Maybe I should go take a nap. Well, the thing is, okay, that's cool. The house looks clean, everything's good. And I wanted to go take a nap. And at this time, my room, my parents were cool with it. I ended up making a cool room in the basement. I could hang out down there anytime. I had a bed, dresser. I had it really styled up. I had like posters. I don't I just styled it the way I wanted to. Like I thought it was really cool. I had like glow lights. I had the lava lamps. I had like a nice dresser with cool stuff on it. I had my collection of stuff. I had my collections of posters, that were antiques. I had a nice TV, PlayStation. I had like a beanbag chair to sit down if I don't want to lay in my bed because my bed's a long distance. If I wanted to watch some TV, I had it set up very convenient. And because the basement was pretty big, I had like a couch down there. It's pretty cool. I had like a seating spot where all my collections were, like all my different types of collections and stuff I like to collect. It was all good, I was thinking, I'm gonna go lay down in my man cave. Plus the basement, it was like in a hot, I don't know, it was like a hot summer day or something. And obviously my parents are out or they weren't home at this time. That's all I know. Maybe they're working. I don't exactly remember. All I know is I thought I wanted to clean the house. I worked on it. I was like, yo, cool. So then I laid down in my man cave, and I guess I didn't realize that um, somehow there was the sink thing. So I was using for the sink for filling up for steam cleaning and cleaning, but then I decided, I'll use the bathtub. Well, somehow I left the sink on, and I don't know how I managed to do that. It was not a good idea. So I had the sink on, it was on a little bit, and I had the bathtub on, but I guess I forgot to un because normally when the bath it would just go down, you would notice it later. But for some reason we had this plug thing that you can push, and I don't know that it was built a certain way. It's kind of cool actually. And I had it on, so it was like the plug was on, and because the bathtub was on, and I left it on, and I left it on at a decent speed. It wasn't like dripping like the sink. It was at a decent speed, so and I'm going to sleep, and I sleep probably for, an hour or two, and not thinking anything of it. I guess I forgot to turn it off or not thinking anything of it. Obviously, in my head at the moment, I thought I turned it off, everything's good. So I'm sleeping, watching some TV for a bit. I'm just laying in bed watching some TV, very cushy. I have like a fridge down there if I want some drinks. It was very convenient for me, and I had a little bit of workout stuff in there so I could work out. stuff like that. I had the option to work out or I could go for one. But this time I just wanted to relax, right? Nothing too much to it. Well, I'm sitting there, and obviously everything is filling up slowly. The bathtub is obviously filling up in the sink. Not thinking everything of it, and I don't even know. I was downstairs, I'm not going to hear it. Well, I guess it dripped, and I guess it started overflowing, and started dripping all over the place, you know. And, I'm just sitting there, not even, I didn't hear no water, didn't hear no nothing. And, I eventually passed out. I, was sleeping, just sitting there sleeping. And, I probably slept for 2 hours, I think, in total, a couple hours at least. I was tired after. It was a good clean. I felt good. And then after, I woke up and where my room was, I had water dripping out of that woke me up. Like the water was dripping, and I'm thinking that's odd. Why is there water dripping? So I went upstairs, not thinking everything of it. Well, I went up there and let's tell me, it was a big mess. Water all over the place, like water coming down the stairs from the bathroom. It was coming down, it was all over, like the whole living room was a mess. The it didn't exactly get to the it almost did, it was close, but it didn't exactly get to the kitchen area, but it got at the main area. So I'm sitting there, oh my god, I'm freaking out. I'm like, there's water all over the place. And then I went upstairs and I figured, and then when I got upstairs to the bathroom, obviously there's water leaking out of the sink and the bathtub at the same time. And I went to rush to turn it off. And then I'm sitting there saying, uh oh, how am I going to clean this up in time before my parents get home? Because how am I going to explain this to my parents? I cleaned up the house and went to go for a nap, and I guess I forgot to turn it off. That's not going to go very well, because they're going to be upset either way, because our house is even worse. Well, it's clean, but now it's full of water, so I don't know what's worse. So I'm just sitting there like, oh boy. So I started cleaning up, cleaning up. It took forever. I luckily got the water under control, you know, but, how am I going to complain? How am I going to explain to my parents that they're going to ask, why is the floor wet? Why is everything wet? I cleaned it up. I cleaned it up best to my ability. And I guess there was so much water, it was hard to dry everything. Like the carpet's wet, the couch is wet. Like there's stuff that's wet from the water that you won't even be able to complain. So I at least got it to a decent amount, but everything's wet, the carpet's wet, everything's wet. And I'm sitting there saying, "Oh, how am I gonna explain it?" So I thought I'd go back down to my room, hoping that everything would be dry. So I just hung down there for a bit, and I came up before the parents were gonna come home shortly. And I felt everything, and surprisingly, it dried up pretty good. Like the upstairs was pretty dry. It didn't look like there was any water. You know, the carpet, it was somewhat dry, still a little bit damp, but it wasn't like it was before. So I was so lucky. If it was worse and it didn't dry up in time, I'd be in big trouble. But I lucked out and got it cleaned and dried it up. And now I don't have to explain to my parents anything. I can just say I cleaned the house. How do you like it? And everything's good. So yeah, it was not a good scene to wake up to water all over the place. Flooding, to fixing it, and now I didn't have to explain to my parents, and I felt like I was on top of the world. I was happy. I felt good. I was like, oh, good luck's on my side. I was happy. It was a good day. Parents come in, tell you how the day is, how work, all that stuff. And you're sitting there saying, oh, good. And they're like, how's your day? And I said, yeah, I cleaned up. And they're like, ooh, it looks nice. Good job. You cleaned up everything, even the kitchen looks good. And they're like, oh, thank you. And you're just sitting there like, yeah. And you're just sitting there relaxing, not even enjoying it. You're just like, everything's good. I hope my audience can relate to my story in some sort of way. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you on Monday with another awesome quality video. Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.